Back in 2006, this was the dog's... What is it? It's the Onkyo BR-NX8. So, what's that? You won't believe what this thing can do. And what it can't do, because it's got a fault. I bought it on Amazon, and one reason I like buying used gear on Amazon is because there's a 30-day money-back returns policy, which doesn't apply to everything you buy on Amazon, but a lot of Amazon marketplace sellers or private sellers, especially used gear like used audio gear, which I often buy from Amazon in Japan. Don't know if that's the case in the rest of the world, let me know in the comments. But the great thing is, if the item's faulty, I haven't had any issue sending it back and getting a full refund, which really is peace of mind, because when you buy things from auction sites, you very rarely, certainly here in Japan, if you buy anything from like an online flea market or an auction site such as Yahoo Auction, you almost never get any kind of return policy. It's basically trust the seller and try your luck. But as I said, I do like Amazon for its 30-day return policy. I often receive goods which do not live up to expectations or are just blatantly lied about. So this is one of those items, and I'm making a video about it before I send it back, and I shall explain why I'm sending it back in due course. Let's have a closer look at it. Right, so there we are. Onkyo CD MD HDD tuner amplifier BR-NX8. It's all written there. Now, what makes this machine particularly special is, of course, the HDD, that is the hard disk drive. It's got an onboard 80GB hard drive. Moreover, it's a network player. It connects to the internet. Not Wi-Fi, by the way. Other points to note: USB socket, memory stick duo. Now, it's the Sony memory stick system, the Sony flash memory system, goes in there like so. I wondered why they didn't use SD when they made this. Remember, this is 2006 they made this, and it seems that there may have been a collaboration between Onkyo and Sony, and the reason I say that is because I've seen a very similar machine online. When I was researching this, I found a very similar machine online that was made by Sony, and similar dimensions and the same functions, the same features as this device. So yeah, we've got the controls across here. I'm going to switch it on in a moment, but just before I do that, and USB plugs in down here. If I can get that in there without pushing it. You see that moved back a bit. It's not very stable. That's an issue. Another issue with this, look, it's warped somehow, and it doesn't sit flat on all 4 feet, and possibly because it's been dropped. More about that later. So something to note is that you've got buttons here for the hard disk drive play and pause, CD play and pause, MD play and pause, tuner, and a stop button. This stop button stops the hard disk drive CD and MD. Now, I've mentioned this before, and it is rather annoying that some manufacturers thought it a good idea to put some of the functions only on the control. It's a really annoying thing. Now, I understand why they may do that with things like text input, because of all the buttons needed, and I understand it would look rather messy if this was covered in all of these buttons. However, there are ways to get around that with toggle switches and the like. We've seen that with some other devices. And something rather strange is if you want to play music from the memory stick Duo, it's got the button there. Can you see that? It's got the play button there. So HDD, CD, MD, memory stick Duo, got the tuner button moved down there. But on the device itself, there's no button. There are no controls for the memory stick Duo. Well, actually, you can select it in these buttons here going into the menu, and I'll show you that in a bit. But there's no easy way to do it, quick, simple way to do it using the controls on the front. This machine does not play music from a USB memory stick. So I looked this up in the manual, and yes, I finally looked something up in the manual. And what the manual says is that the USB memory stick function is simply to transfer MP3 files to and from the onboard hard drive. Don't know whether that's only MP3s, but that's what it said in the manual. It said MP3s. And the reason I say that is because this machine does boast a track. That's what it says. And those of you in the know will know that a track is superior to MP3 when it comes to heavily compressed audio files. And again, is it this another indication of a collaboration with Sony? Because A-Track is Sony's original audio compression format, used of course in minidisc. Just for the record, this is not a high MD, it's a regular MD. So it's a 2006 model, as I said, which hopefully means, I assume it means, it's running the latest version of A-Track. I would assume that in 2006. And it certainly has MD long play, MD-LP, MD long play. Point to note is it does not have Wi-Fi. This connects to a LAN cable and Ethernet cable. Let's switch it on. As you can see, it moves on its feet. More about that later. It's got that rather annoying, well, annoying to me anyway, bright blue light on the volume control. You can see that on the other taller of the two mini systems that I've made videos about, because it's a similar design to that, albeit slightly shorter. It's got this big colour screen, not a touch screen, just worth noting. And I think back in 2006, not sure whether touch screens were available then, but they were certainly very new around that time, if you could buy anything with a touch screen. Can't remember back in 2006. So this is just something to set the time and the date and server issue. It's not connected to the internet, so I'll just get rid of that. And you can see that the clarity, the resolution of the screen isn't brilliant, and if you are getting on a bit with middle-aged eyesight like me, you may want to put your glasses on, your reading glasses on, to get a better look at it. And this is just telling me there's no disc inserted. Now this is where this machine really annoyed me, because it's got an issue with reading CDs. Now that's certainly what happened when I unboxed it and tried it yesterday before making this video. Now I'm going to put in a CD just so you can see what I'm talking about. I tried several CDs yesterday and it couldn't read any of them to play them. Now you'll see what I'm talking about. So I've got the BGs there, slots in there. Note the type of loading mechanism. It's not a tray type, it's just the type that you poke it in. I don't know what is the, maybe you can tell me in the comments, what is the official way to refer to this loading mechanism? like the, is it the letterbox style where you just poke it in and it sucks it in and spits it out when you press eject. So it can read it, and this is another interesting point to note, by the way. I'm assuming it's reading from CD text because this is not connected to the internet. However, if you do connect it to the internet, it does use a database service which is common in Japan. It was in my Skyline that I used to have, that also when you inserted a CD, it would pull the info from a database and attach it, assign it to files that you rip to the hard drive. Let's press play there and see what happens. Now, you won't hear any sound, by the way. Now, you can't play it. Can you see that? So it's not playing. So this is a really bizarre thing, that this machine and that message says it can't play the file. So it's skipped to the second track and it's still having issues. It can't play it. Really, really annoying. And I had a look for more info on this machine, and I saw another seller on Amazon, and at least he was honest. He admitted that he was selling a machine that had a temperamental CD player. So let's eject that. Thankfully, the loading mechanism works fine, because I would not want my discs trapped inside there. Excuse me, bashing the camera tripod. I've got one homemade, and as you can see, just burnt on my, I think I burnt it on a Windows PC a few years ago. If I put that in there, so I edited out the reading time. It took a few seconds to read it. So it's read the CD, it recognizes the CD. Now if I press play, no CD text on this, because when I burnt the CD, it didn't have any CD text attached to it. I didn't deal with that when I burnt the CD. But look, it's playing it. And by the way, I have checked this already before making the video. I plugged in headphones, and the reason I'm not playing any sound through the speakers is because of something I'm going to show you shortly, which is another thing to watch out for when you buy such audio equipment. So this machine recognizes, and I've tried several, and every single CD that I put in here that I made myself, I burnt myself, it recognizes that all CDRs that I've made, it's fine with. However, it doesn't recognize any factory-made pre-recorded CDs. How bizarre is that? Can't understand it. So that's the main reason why I'm sending this back, by the way. I'm not sending it back because it wobbles on its feet and it's probably been dropped. Right, let's stop that. Now, if this was connected to the internet, it would probably pull the track information from its online database and assign it to each track. Right, there we are. So next up, I've got an MP3 data CD of 7 albums of music, and if I put that in there, now the MP3 files should have info attached to them. They should have the data tags attached to them. Let's see what happens. So there we are, it's reading the disc, that says it's reading, and there we are, it's recognized it. So this machine does play MP3 CDRs that you've burnt on a computer. These are the albums. You go down, you see all 7 there, and if you press the right button there, you can then go into and open the album and see the individual tracks. If I go back there, now I've selected the first album on there. If I press enter, and it opens it again, and then I press enter and it starts to play. And it really does work. I had headphones connected yesterday and I was checking it out, and it plays MP3 CDs absolutely fine. Now this, to me, is something that I really like. I like CD players that can play MP3 CDs or other formats of compressed audio just for background music, because I used to play music before I had an iPod or an iPhone. I used to play, back in the day, MP3 CDs as background music because you got a lot more time out of them. You didn't need to keep changing discs and things. And I'm talking about at work, in my office, I used to have MP3 CDs and mini discs on long play just as background music, because I wasn't sitting down and listening to it in a magic triangle looking for the sweet spot. I just wanted background music while I was working in my office for a few hours all day long, etc. Back in the day, storage media, hard disk drives, were rather expensive and you didn't get such big ones. So it was pretty normal to back up your MP3 files, to rip your CDs or downloads and back them up onto CDRs, which significantly had come down in price before storage media, silicon storage media, had come down in price back in the day when it was expensive. I'm guessing that this image here is going to be the album cover retrieved from an internet database. I'm assuming that's what that is. It looks clearly like it's going to be something to that effect. Right. Right, we've got problems. Oh, no, we haven't. No. Oh, it's taking it back. It was thinking about it. I guess this machine likes AC/DC. Well, I won't edit this out so you can see what happens. Reading. So it started to spit out the disc and it's taken it back. Let's press that again. Okay, working this time. Slightly temperamental by the look of it. Didn't have any issues yesterday when I tried it, and it certainly seems to play such discs okay. So what about CDRWs? Does it play a rewritable CDR? Got some music on there in MP3 format. I think it's MP3 format. Don't remember actually what's on there, but I know there's something on it. I've written a note here saying it's funky disco house. So I'm not sure whether that's an MP3 or a regular CD, or a CDA file that is. Can't read it. So this machine does not read CDRWs. Point to note, the other two mini systems by Onkyo from a similar era that I've already reviewed in videos also cannot play CDRWs, don't recognize CDRWs, rewritable CDs. I've checked the MD player. The MD player works perfectly fine. It's very good, no issues whatsoever. It's got the time displayed there. I haven't set the time, that's not the real time. I'm not filming at this time of night. But frankly, that is really small, and nobody is going to be able to read that from any distance more than about arm's length, especially given the poor resolution of the screen. So it seemed to be doing some sort of trying to do some sort of system update, which it obviously can't do if it's not connected to the internet. I assumed that it was trying to retrieve system update information from the internet. That's what I'm assuming, and because it isn't connected, it probably is programmed to do things like that, and it's probably the designers expected you to keep it connected to the internet. But I can hear the hard drive going around. The message says please wait, and it's going to shut down automatically. It shut down at last. There we are. We know it's gone off because the blue light there has gone off, and there should be a standby. Yes, there's a red standby light there. There is the side view if you're interested. Scratch there. Point to note, this item was described as very good, cleaned and tested, and everything working properly, which was an utter lie. There is the other side. Now, I mentioned earlier, I think that it's been dropped, because if you look there, there's a dent there, some damage. I would say this thing has been dropped on this corner, or something fell on it on that corner. That's significant damage, because this is metal, and something's happened there. So that might be why it's unstable. Might be why it's been knocked out of shape. Anyway, there we've got the Ethernet connection. We've got a video monitor out. Forgot to mention that. It can be connected to a TV via an RCA video cable. And one set of analog audio in and out. FM connector there. AM antenna connectors there via spring clips. Now this is the big issue. Look at those speaker connectors. They are not the regular. You'd expect them to just to put normal like spring clip types on a device like this, but they've got these rather unique looking speaker cable connectors. This item did not come with those. This item was simply this and the control, and it's got a hardwired in power cable. Another point to note, you can see that this was made in 2006. That's what it says. Manufactured in 2006. That's what that says. Made in Malaysia. Point to note that at this time, although they were making things like mini systems and some of the lesser products, some of the better quality products were made in Japan, so look out for that. A point to note then, if you buy a product like this, I strongly advise you to check, are you going to get anything unusual? These speaker connectors are unusual, and it did not come with those cables and connectors, which means if you buy something like this and you really want to use it, you're going to have to hunt down and find these connectors. Now, I already knew that. I'd already checked and I'd already seen these connectors online and in photos, and I picked it up from the comments that somebody had left on this product from another seller, that they were disappointed because when they bought it they couldn't connect their speakers. So I had a look, and it is possible to buy these cable connectors, but it isn't easy. And so I just assumed I was going to do that. However, because I'm sending it back due to that CD issue and some other issues that you've now seen, then it's no longer an issue for me. I'm just going to send it back. So note the fan there. Now the fan hasn't cut in the whole time it's been on. In addition to the speaker cables being rather unusual, remember that if you do buy any used gear, they don't always come with remote controls. Now you can often find somebody selling remote controls online separately. They often charge way over what I would say is a fair price for remote controls. This came with it, but it is worth remembering that they don't always supply a remote control, and some of the functions for these machines are only possible on remote controls. They don't necessarily have all the functions on the machines themselves. Please remember that when you're buying used gear. This didn't come with the speakers. This would have come originally with speakers via those speaker cables that don't exist. I did check the speakers, the other end of the speaker cables that go into the actual speakers are just regular bare wires that were expected to go onto spring clips. There's no manual with this either. It's mostly intuitive, but the screen did have a menu system which although it's in Japanese, that's another thing, by the way, I should say, couldn't change the language. There's no language option. So bear that in mind if you buy anything from Japan that may have any kind of menu system that requires you to understand instructions on the screen. It did not have a language change option. Luckily, I could understand it because I've lived in Japan long enough. I can read Japanese sort of okay. Just to recap, it's got a hard disk drive, 80 gigabytes. You can, when the CD player's working properly, you can rip your CDs to it. I couldn't try it because it's not reading my CDs, so that's rather annoying. If you want to see the remote control in detail, pause your screen now, and for your information, it takes 2 AA batteries. That sticker in the top right corner of the front panel refers to a service called Any Music, which was launched in 2004, and you can read about it in detail on the Audioholics website. I'll put a link in the description below. You can pause your video anytime to read more slowly. And the service is now defunct. There are other services by the same name which are totally unrelated. It was very difficult finding information on it, but suffice it to say, it was a download service, not a streaming service, and it obviously was not successful. You may be wondering why I didn't connect it to the internet and show you that. I haven't connected it at all to the internet, not even off camera. I decided not to do it because I'd already decided before making the video that I was going to send the unit back, and because I'd encountered problems that made the unit undesirable to me, I decided there's no point going further down the rabbit hole and discovering more issues that were potentially problematic. And you know, when you connect devices to the internet, there's invariably some kind of registration required, there's some kind of transfer of data, etc. So I decided not to do it. I think you get the picture. There are other functions, by the way, that I didn't show you, but I did touch upon and did mention, but I didn't show you in detail. It is an amazing piece of kit, and it's definitely something that had it been fully working, in full working order, I would be really pleased with it in terms of functionality and its uniqueness. And I certainly regret the fact that I have to send it back due to the faults you've seen in the video. And if you get a chance to get hold of one that is in full working order, in good condition, I think you'll really have a very unique and interesting machine on your hands, and good luck with that.